Welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're going to challenge what you think you know about one of the world's absolute most popular pocket pets. We're pulling back the curtain and revealing the fascinating, hidden complexities of hamster care. Seriously, if you think these little fuzzballs are just sleepy creatures that run on a squeaky wheel, you are in for quite a surprise.
So let's just address the elephant in the room right off the bat. Are hamsters really just easy starter pets? Because for decades, they've been marketed as the ultimate low-maintenance, first-time pet for kids. But when we actually take a close look at their biology, their psychology, and how they live in the wild, we quickly realize that they are deeply complex, highly sensitive animals. They require a whole lot more thought and care than just tossing them into a small plastic cage with a food bowl.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, decoding your hamster. Second, habitat and cleaning secrets. Third, DIY toys and enrichment. And finally, number 4, taming your tiny friend.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, Decoding Your Hamster. We're talking biology and wild instincts. It literally all starts with their name. The word hamster actually originates from the German word hamstern, which literally translates to hoard. And this perfectly reflects their deep, hardwired instinct to stash food away for survival. Out in the wild, they use these incredibly stretchy cheek pouches to just pack away treats, seeds, and bedding so they can carry it all safely back to their burrows. Fun fact here, mother hamsters have even been known to hide their own babies inside their cheek pouches just to protect them. How wild is that?
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that number right there, 16. That is the exact number of teeth a hamster is born with. But here is the kicker, guys. Their teeth are open-rooted. That means they never, ever stop growing. If they don't have enough things to chew on to file them down, they will develop severe, painful dental issues. So chew toys aren't just some fun, cute accessory, they are an absolute biological necessity.
And check out this number, 4, as in 4 miles per hour. I know, despite those tiny little legs, hamsters are incredibly active, nocturnal escape artists. When the lights go out, they hit the ground running. A healthy hamster can literally run up to 4 miles in a single night on their wheel. This is exactly why providing a large enough wheel and a spacious enclosure is just non-negotiable.
But here is the absolute crucial part of decoding them, understanding how they actually navigate their environment. Hamsters have terribly poor eyesight. They're essentially blind when it comes to depth and detail. Instead, they rely heavily on their whiskers and a remarkably strong sense of smell. They literally leave invisible scent trails all over their enclosure to map out their territory and find their way around. Because they are prey animals, knowing exactly where they are and exactly where their safe hiding spots are is pretty much a matter of life and death to them.
Moving right along to Section 2, Habitat and Cleaning Secrets. Let's look at how to build a real masterpiece of care.
So, because they see the world through their nose, we have to completely rethink their space. And this brilliantly illustrates the problem. Human instinct tells us, hey, let's deep clean everything at once so the cage smells fresh and sterile. But hamster need is screaming, please don't erase my map. When you scrub a cage completely clean, you destroy those scent trails we just talked about. To a hamster, it feels like they've suddenly been dropped onto an alien planet. It causes them immense anxiety, and that's what leads to stress behaviors like biting the cage bars or acting out aggressively. So what's the game plan instead? Spot cleaning. You really only want to remove soiled areas and pee spots. Believe it or not, hamsters are actually super clean animals, and they'll often use a sand litter tray if you just place it in their favorite bathroom corner. When you absolutely do need to go a larger clean, just wipe the base with unscented soapy water. Never touch their dry, clean food hoards or their nests, and most importantly, keep their furniture in the exact same place. Rearranging their cage might look fun to you, but it leaves them totally lost and disoriented.
So a super crucial point here is their bedding. Hamsters are natural burrowers. A thin little layer of wood shavings on the floor just is not going to cut it. They need a massive 15 to 30 centimeters, so that's roughly 6 to 12 inches, of deeply compacted, burrow-safe substrate. Paper-based bedding or flaked aspen works beautifully for this. When it's properly compacted down, they can dig out these complex, stable tunnel systems, just like they would out in the wild.
Now, with all this specialized care, you are going to accumulate a lot of gear. To keep it all organized, a lot of experts use cube storage systems, something like an IKEA Kallax, which is perfect for holding those big, bulky exercise wheels. And here is a massive pro tip that will save you a serious headache later on. Freeze all your new hamster food and treats for 48 hours before you open them. This safely kills off any tiny bugs that might have hitchhiked inside the bag. After that, just store your seed mixes in airtight glass containers to keep everything fresh and totally pest-free. Let's see how this builds into Section 3, DIY Toys and Enrichment. Time to keep those active little minds busy.
Enrichment for hamster is all about engaging their senses and encouraging those natural wild behaviors. So instead of just dumping their food into a bowl, try scatter feeding. Just toss their seed mix around the enclosure so they actually have to go foraging for it. You can add different natural textures like cork tubes and grapevines for them to climb on. Give them shallow digging boxes filled with things like coconut fiber, and sprinkle dried, hamster-safe herbs, flowers, and millet sprays all around. It makes them work for their food and lets them act like the wild little foragers they truly are.
If you want to get a little crafty, here's an incredibly easy, practically free DIY hide you can make literally today. Just take some safe, unscented toilet paper and wet it down. Layer those wet sheets over the inside of a bowl to form a nice dome shape. Let it dry out completely for a day or two until it's rock hard. Pop it out of the bowl, cut a little door, and boom, you have a totally safe, chewable hideout that your hamster can sleep in or even tear apart to use for their nesting material.
Need a really quick boredom breaker? Just grab a regular toilet paper tube. Cut about a 2.5-inch section off. Press the edges of one side inward so it folds into this inverted arch shape, basically sealing that end shut. Drop some of their favorite seed mix inside, and then fold the other end the exact same way. It literally takes 20 seconds to make, and it turns feeding time into this super engaging puzzle. They have to chew and wrestle with the cardboard just to get to their prize.
And finally, we arrive at Section 4, Taming Your Tiny Friend. This is all about building true trust.
Bridging the gap between a giant human and a tiny prey animal, well, it takes time. But there is a golden rule in the hamster care community, and it's this: the fastest way into a hamster's heart is through its stomach. It is so true. Hamsters are incredibly food-motivated. High-value treats, think things like sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, or even little pieces of dehydrated tofu, these are your absolute best tools for building trust.
Taming is a slow progression, and it requires a ton of patience. For the very first week after bringing them home, you really just need to leave them completely alone so they can settle in. Then, you can start introducing your scent. Rub a clean tissue between your hands and just leave it in their cage. Next, start offering those high-value treats directly from your fingers. Eventually, you can place the treat flat on your palm so they actually have to step onto your hand to get it. And when it's time for some out-of-cage play, don't just grab them, coax them into a mug or a cup with a treat. It's a much safer, less scary way to transfer them to a playpen.
And while we're on the subject of handling them, please remember this absolutely critical safety tip. Hamsters have terrible depth perception. If you're holding them high up in the air and they suddenly leap out of your hands, they aren't doing it just to be difficult. They literally cannot see how far the drop is. So always sit on the floor or handle them very close to the ground. That way, if they do decide to take a blind leap of faith, they land perfectly safely.
Now, sometimes taming gets a little bumpy. If your hamster is a biter, it's totally okay to wear soft gloves initially, just to protect yourself. But whatever you do, never flinch or punish a bite. Punishing a prey animal only confirms to them that you are in fact a predator, and it creates deep fear. Also, take a hard look at their enclosure. Hamsters kept in cages that are way too small often become highly aggressive just out of pure territorial stress. And finally, we just have to manage our expectations. Accept that not every single hamster is going to be a cuddly Instagram model, and you know what? That is completely okay. Some are just inherently wilder, and it's on us to respect their boundaries.
By really understanding their biology, respecting their unique sensory needs, and engaging those clever little minds, we can absolutely give these amazing creatures the lives they deserve. So, I'll leave you with this final thought. How will you upgrade your hamster's lifestyle today to turn them from a misunderstood pet into a masterpiece of care? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I seriously cannot wait to see how you transform your tiny friend's world.